Welcome, everyone, to People on Dating. I'm your host, Will Morales. And for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, this podcast is about the ups and downs of dating and how to navigate through it. Today, my guest is Fiona Eckersley. She's a confidence coach, a divorce recovery expert, motivational speaker, and best-selling author of Fearful to Fabulous, Unlock Your Power, Move On, and Thrive After Midlife Divorce, and Too Scared to Love Again, the divorced woman's guide to sidestep the red flags, delight in dating, and find love you deserve. Fiona, thank you so much for being on People on Dating. How are you?
I am good, and thank you very much for asking me. I'm really happy to be here.
Well, listen, it's my pleasure. So, Fiona, tell us how you became a coach. What was your journey like? How did Fiona get here to today?
Oh, wow. A lot of very dubious decisions, probably. Well, I don't think you want my whole life story, so I'll give you the brief synopsis. So
Okay.
I'm English. I'm living in the United States
Okay.
because I met somebody who was in the Peace Corps. I was a volunteer in Sierra Leone.
Okay.
Moved over here, got married, had 4 kids, thought I had the perfect life, perfect family. It was like a fairy tale until the day my husband walked in and announced that he was divorcing me and he doesn't love me anymore.
Oh,
I was like,
geez.
oh, okay. um, so that was rather a shock, and yeah, I had no idea it was coming. It affected my kids. It affected me negatively. And you go through it as you do. You're very busy. You've got all these things to focus on, your kids and everything. So then it's done, and then you're divorced, and then, well, what do you do now with the rest of your life? And like everybody else, I was like, everybody's telling me, hey, just get another guy, you'll be fine. Right? Just have another
Right.
boyfriend. So I did all of that stuff. I did a lot of stuff that I probably shouldn't have done. And long story short, where I ended up a few years later was basically I didn't have a job. I was feeling horrible about myself. I was drinking too much, not to the alcoholic level, but definitely more than was probably good for me.
Sure.
Eating, like, just I was miserable. The
Right.
funny thing is nobody else knew because I'm really good at that compartmentalizing and hiding it. But I was
Right.
miserable and I hated myself. And I was looking around. I needed to do something else. I was teaching at the time. And a friend of mine suggested coaching. And this was before coaching was really more known about.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's not a real thing. What are you talking about? Anyway, I looked into it and I did. And I started off actually doing something completely different. I was going to be a health coach.
Ah, okay.
And people was said to me, I don't know, you don't seem so passionate about this. I don't know. They talked to me and they said, what do you feel about working with women after divorce? And it was like, it was literally like my head exploded because I was like, that
Mm,
is exactly what I want to do. Because by this point, I'd been through all my own coaches. I'd met some amazing people through my coaching associations.
yeah.
And I really felt that I know all the things that you're not supposed to do because I did them. And I'd come through the other side and I'd met so many other women who were just struggling. And I didn't want other people to be struggling for years like I did. And that's what really led me to do what I'm doing now.
Right. Well, I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you chose this profession, or chose you, you could say.
I think it did,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. So, uh, Fiona, it seems that the dating landscape has changed a lot, especially for younger people that are in their under 40. I see people, maybe women are setting their standards too high, and they should have standards like anybody else should. But in the dating landscape, has both sexes um standards have changed? Is that what you're seeing a little bit more of when it comes to dating and relationships?
I think what happened was now online dating is an amazing thing because somebody who has no access to meeting other people of the opposite sex, like I'm a teacher, I would never meet anybody at school. They're all women for a start.
Gotcha.
If you want to meet somebody of the opposite sex, it's very hard. And online dating gives you such a huge pool of people, and you know that they're interested. The problem with online dating, and I think this applies whatever your age, to be honest, and for men and women, there's people out there who feel bad about themselves, so they lie on their profile,
Mm,
and so there's that. So you never really know what you're getting. You have to be very careful. You have to really look into everything. And the other thing is I call it the shiny object syndrome. So you meet somebody and they're really great. And there's you're like, I like this person. They meet all my requirements. They're okay with my boundaries, but then all of a sudden, like something else pops up on your screen because you're still online, and
Right.
it's like, oh, what about this one? I don't want to miss out on this. What if this person's the one I'm supposed to be going out with? And
Mm.
so instead of focusing on somebody you've met that's great, you sort of get distracted just in case. What about this one? And then what happens is you end up with all the ghosting and the jumping around and the serial dating. And the truth is that the first person you met was probably okay. And not okay, not that you have to settle, but somebody that you
Right.
would have really done really well with, who you could have fallen in love with and, had a great life. But it's a little bit of an ADHD, mentality out there, I
Right.
think.
So, are because I'm not a fan of online dating because of what you said about the ghosting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I had some issues where, and I'm not online anymore. When I was, I would have women reach out to me, then I would reach out to them, and then I wouldn't get an answer back. Maybe, like you said, they probably could have met someone taller, younger, whatever it may be. So I became more frustrated. Same thing with like Instagram and Twitter. I get women reaching out to me, but it's pretty much within a couple of texts, they're already asking for money. Can you help me? And it's not really them because I say, hey, let's do a phone call or let's do a video chat. And their phone is not working. Oh, I need to upgrade my phone and all that. And
Mm.
I'm like, give me a break,
That's a total red flag. And that's the thing.
Yeah,
Anybody, I have to say, I get a lot of people reaching out to me on Instagram. I don't really honest. And if they are and I missed them, that's okay.
right.
But anybody who will not, this is one of the things I say. I've spoken to women who are like, well, um, he's overseas, so he can't call me. It's like, yes, they can. Anybody who tells you that their phone isn't working or they don't have a screen or they're not willing to meet you unless it's a huge distance, right?
Yeah.
Within like a week or two, then you move on
I
because
I I
because they're
have,
not
yeah.
legitimate and they're not or they're not looking for a relationship. They're just looking for a pen pal. And that's not, for most of us, that's not what we want.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. So getting back to the to relationships, and I was asking
Mm.
you, right? Because uh online seems the way to meet people, and there I agree. I'm not saying not. I'm not because I get to travel a lot. I'm talking about a lot of networking events. I meet a lot of people, so
Right.
for me that's easier because I can meet people at tons of networking events. Would that be something that you would recommend to maybe some of your clients if, especially after they got a divorce or whatever, to get back out there in terms of meeting people, the physical way in terms of like Eventbrite, meetup.com, wherever that may be?
I actually would recommend both,
Oh,
but
okay.
with a caveat, I wouldn't
Okay.
recommend it right after divorce.
Gotcha.
Period.
Okay.
Right? That's and again, I know because I did it. I think that, all too easily, a lot of people say, "Oh, just find another relationship, you'll be fine." But
Right.
what happens when you do that is there's a reason you got divorced. Okay? There's a reason that you married, whatever didn't work out, whether it was your fault or their fault or whatever.
Right.
And often you find that when you jump back into another relationship, you end up in the same pattern that
Mm,
messed up the first one. And it's not even about the other person. It's the person that you're inviting into your life. Like you were talking earlier, it's like you have to set your boundaries. And
right.
if you don't feel, and if you've just gone through a divorce, you're probably feeling pretty rotten about yourself.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's a very traumatic experience. You need something to make you feel better. The thing is, it'll make you feel better short time. But if you are really just looking for another person to make you feel better, you're lowering your boundaries, and then you inviting people in, you
Mm,
start making excuses for them, and then they treat you badly or it doesn't go the way you think, and then what does that do? It just makes you feel like you're a failure again, and it's kind of a spiral
yeah.
downwards. I mean, often, I repeated my pattern a couple of times, and you think you've got somebody completely different, but then when you dig right down in there, it turns out they have the same personality traits, and that's really what
Wow.
attracts you in the first place. But you have to figure out who you want to be now, because
Mhm.
I look at it like it's almost like this. It won't feel like it at the time, but when you look back on it, it is an amazing opportunity. It's an amazing opportunity to look at your life and say, is this really who I want to be?
Right.
Am I doing everything I want to do in my life? And it's like a full screeching full stop. And you can say, you know what? I think I would like to change this, or I would like to change that. And I would like to be someone who, I don't know, isn't as judgmental, or someone who is more adventurous, or whatever it is that you want to change about yourself.
Yeah.
And this is your opportunity to do that. And if you're looking for another relationship immediately, you're not looking to change yourself. You're looking to adapt yourself to
Right.
someone else.
Mm.
And instead of adapting yourself to them, you want to find somebody who complements you.
Gotcha. Wow. So it's, in other words, it seems that we're attracting the same person over and over
Yeah,
again. And
yes, because that's what we're used to. It's like a
yeah,
comfort zone thing, right? Even if somebody, I mean, I have to say, for me, it all goes back, it all goes back to the whole childhood thing, right?
right,
But I think for me, it was so easy just to have someone who was just like everybody else that I've been out with because it was
right.
comfortable. But once you look at it and you say, why isn't this not working? And the answer is because I kept ending up with controlling people who told me what to do. And you know what? It's nice for a little while because I don't have to think about it, but that is not the person I am.
Right.
And so it would not work out because eventually I'd get tired of that.
Mm.
Or some people will just, instead of they're scared that they don't want to be on their own. So they'll
Right.
settle for it. And then it's better to be on your own and happy than miserable in a couple.
Right. So then how long would you suggest after a breakup like that, a divorce, that they go back out? Do you give them a certain amount of time to
I wouldn't.
settle
I
in,
would
or it
never say
depends?
that. I would never
Okay.
give a set amount of time because everybody is different and everybody's unique experience, right?
Right.
Everybody's had a different relationship past. Everybody has different, childhood past. You've got to really go from your own area, but you can look at how what is your negative self-talk like? Are you
Mm.
saying bad things to yourself all the time? Are you finding you're making excuses for other people around you who are not treating you appropriately? Things like that. You've got to look at your list of your boundaries, and once you feel that you're okay with that, and I don't mean be belligerent, because you are never going to find the perfect person,
Right.
because
Right.
nobody's perfect. I
Yeah.
mean, I certainly aren't.
Right. Right. Right.
So but what you can do is find something that is okay, that you can, that is not going to upset you or is not impacting your life in a negative way,
Okay.
right? Maybe
Uh,
somebody has, I don't know, maybe they leave their smelly socks on the floor. Is that really awful? Is that gonna, because you can go too far the other way too, right?
right.
You can
Right.
go
Right.
where nothing is right. So it's kind of a fine line.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's good to know, because I like what you said though before, is, we have to figure ourselves out, especially after a bad breakup, whether it's a divorce or a long-term relationship. Uh, you know, we tend to attract the same person over and over again, and we give ourselves this negative self-talk saying, "Oh, am I worthy enough? Am I good enough for this person?" So if we do the online profile thing, right? Because that's the easiest way. You can make a profile. You hopefully nobody's catfishing you on the other side. But the thing you just said before, you got the shiny object syndrome all of a sudden.
Mm.
So how does that get navigated?
Well, that's it. You can't take any of this personally. And it's
Mm,
an incredible personal thing, right? It's incredibly personal to like go out on a date with someone or have somebody decide whether they like you, whether you're good enough or not, whatever. But the
right.
point is, it's actually not about you. If they
Mm,
ghost you, it's not about you. It's about
right.
them. They don't know you well enough to reject you. And you have to I always say, treat it like it's an adventure. You gotta
Okay.
go for it. And if they ghost you, oh well, that's because obviously they're not the right person for you then if they're gonna do that. So you're
Right.
not missing out on anything.
Okay,
Um,
that's perfect. Yeah.
yeah, you just can't say like, oh, it's because I did this, or maybe, oh, what did I write in my text? Did I write the wrong thing in my text? You cannot analyze it like that, because you have to be the person you are.
Right.
Don't change yourself to make somebody else like you, because
Mm,
eventually you can't keep that up. So if
mm,
they don't like you for who you are, it's not going to work out eventually, right?
right.
Um, so how do you stop it? Well, the only thing you can do is be very careful when you pick people to go out with. I guess that's,
Yeah.
if you get as far as you text, you talk on the phone, you go out for a date, and you have to make a decision.
Right.
And you
Okay.
do the best you can do, but you can't control other people. So I guess it happens. It's happened to me.
Right.
So
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, it happened to me before where, I guess I didn't even know the term ghosting back then, or I didn't even thought about it. I like what you said though. Don't take it personal. Be ourselves, because if we're trying to change for that other person, it's not going to be healthy for us, because then we're going to be resentful. So as the dating landscape has changed again with people setting standards, are we seeing the standards being unreasonable?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't
Okay.
know. I can't speak to men really. I mean, it
How
depends.
about in the woman's side? For all
Yeah,
right, so let's talk about
I
that.
don't think
For
I don't
guys, for
think
us,
so.
we're pretty easy.
Yeah, well, I don't know. A lot of them, I wouldn't say that, but I'm right. Right profiles as well.
Okay.
You, I do the lists of like what I'd like to have and what I need to have, right? And
Oh,
I
okay.
would put in the like to have maybe, oh, so tall, or this does this for a living, or looks like that's a like to. That's like a, oh, that would be nice. But
Right.
it's not a need to. You don't have to go out with somebody who's 6'2",
Right.
because you know
Right.
what? There's perfectly nice men who are not 6'2", right? I mean,
Right.
yes, wouldn't that be great? I mean, but, I'm only 5'5", so it wouldn't it'd be kind of tall for me. But you know what I mean? Like you have to sort of be realistic,
Right.
because if you're going to put down, tall, dark, and handsome, and whatever, I've met some really great looking guys, and they make lots of money, and they're horrible. You know
Right.
what I mean? And I've met some guys who are regular looking, not that tall, do a regular job, and they're really nice. So
Yeah.
you
You
can't.
never know. Got
Yeah,
you.
I mean, I think at some point you have to look past the superficial,
Yeah. I remember one
and
time.
that's hard.
Yeah, and I remember we talking with Fiona Eckersley, and today's topic is about dating and relationships. And Fiona, I remember I was talking to a friend of mine, and she was telling me that she saw this guy. He was like a 10, goddess looking guy, if there's such a thing. She said as soon as he opened his mouth, she just said, "Oh my God, I don't even want to be next to this guy." So she said that whatever was coming out of his mouth just didn't make sense. He sounded like a dumb jock and all that. And that pretty much just, she X'd him out even without giving him a chance because of what he said. He just didn't
Right.
have, it just wasn't, I guess, well spoken enough for her. That was one of our criteria, is just, someone that's well spoken. So yeah, I guess, I mean, not guess, you are right. I guess it depends on what you're looking for. But at the end of the day, like you said, he could be 5'10", 5'9", but he could be the nicest guy that's 6'2", 6'3", could be an a-hole.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a lot of nice 6'2" guys too, but you get the point.
Yeah, I'm not
You
putting
get the
them
point of
down.
what I'm saying. Yeah. I have a very good friend, and she's also online dating, and we were talking one day, and she said she was so excited because she was talking to this guy online, and she said, you know what, I fit every single thing on his list. And I looked at
Mm.
her and I said, how about your list? Does he fit anything on your list?
Yeah.
And she's
And-
like, oh my God, you're right. Like, that's, you've got to have your own ideas. And
yeah.
also, again, don't be too rigid. Like, if you want someone who, plays golf every day because you play golf, and they don't play that much golf,
Right.
you can let it go. It's not the end of the world.
Right. Wow. So her, in other words, his box, she checked off everything, but the vice versa. It
Yeah.
wasn't.
She was
Wow.
so concerned that he liked her, that she fit into his criteria,
Yeah.
that she forgot to say, wait a minute, does he fit mine? Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, well, I listen. I definitely agree with you by having criteria, or your checklist. But do we come too much with expectations that we might set ourselves down for failure?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You got to be
Okay.
adaptable. I mean, make the
Okay.
list.
Gotcha. Yes. Okay. I
Make
just
the
want to make
list.
sure. Yes.
I always say when you're dating, you got to make 3 lists, right? There's a oh my gosh, now I can't remember the name of them. There's a break, like a definite break list, like things
Okay.
that are not acceptable. I mean, and
Right.
that would be things like for some people it might be that they smoke. For somebody else, it might be, it could be that they don't value my opinion.
Right.
It could be that they that could be really bad. It could be they were abusive. You know what I mean? I mean, there's those
Right.
serious ones, right?
Yes.
And then you've got the make or break list. Then you've got the need list. So somebody who has a job, you would need, somebody might say, I need somebody who has a job. I need somebody that has children so they understand. I have 4 kids, so it's helpful to me to go out with somebody who has children, then they get it, you know.
Gotcha.
So things like that. And then there's the nice to have list, right? Which is the one that's a little more flexible, like I was saying, like he's 6'2", or he likes to sail, or um, I don't know, he's really into music, things like that. So if you
Right.
have those 3 lists, I mean, the make or break it list is really important, because that's the one about basic standards, values of life,
Okay.
which you really need to have those be the same.
Right.
Um, and then the need to have would be, like I said, like, well, be you should probably have a job. If somebody's a high flying executive woman and she doesn't want to go out with somebody who's been jobless for 3 years, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the nice to have is the one where you make the flexible.
I like that. So, make or break list, need to have list, and nice to have list.
Yeah.
wow. I never heard of it. Maybe one list I always heard, and they put everything down in one list. But I like it. The make or break list, need to have, and nice to have list. So going forward, uh, are we still going to rely on online dating more so than ever? Because it seems like every day there's a new app coming out for
Yeah.
online dating, and like you said, not even counting. Somebody said that Instagram is one of the biggest date. I don't even count Instagram as a dating
I don't
app.
count that either.
Yeah, so you got your Match.com, your eHarmony, whatever it is, and then you got the regular apps. Are we going to see more of those? Because it seems like you said, it might be easier to meet someone online. Maybe from there you could do a phone call. Maybe from there you could do a video call. Maybe from there you can actually meet in
Yeah,
person.
I think we are, and I think that, at first, honestly, when I online dating, because I was so,
It
but now
does get a
everybody,
bad
I mean,
connotation, right?
yeah, I mean, my daughter who's 28 met her boyfriend, who they've been together, I don't know, years now,
Yeah,
online. My my other 3 met them organically, but they're younger. So when you go to college, or when you're younger, you have more opportunities to meet people, I think.
right, right.
But I do think that they're here to stay, because it gives you an opportunity to meet people that, even if you live in a city like New York City, how are you going to meet people
Yeah,
unless you meet them through work, or, like you said, you do networking, or
yeah,
but you could be part of a church or a community. But what happens with the women that I work with, and the people I work with, is that they might be in a church community, for example, but they're divorced. So those people all know them as part of another couple. So they
right,
don't want to meet somebody in that necessarily community. And you could find another hobby. You could go hiking, join a meetup and go hiking,
mm,
or you could join some kind of gym class, or you could
right,
get a bike if you like riding a bike. You could go gardening, and you could do painting. There's no end of things you could do. And that's a great place to meet people too, because
right.
they share your interest, obviously, in that
And that's
activity.
already a plus because
Right.
you
But
gotta,
the
yeah,
chances are that you're going to meet somebody in those small classes that's, eligible,
yeah.
that you want to go out with, is not that great. It just online is gives you just a better tool to
Right,
find
right.
people.
Okay, no, and you can narrow down your choices because they in online dating they give you criteria, right? I mean,
Yeah, they
age
do. And
specific and all that. Yeah,
yeah, and the other thing is, there are so many websites, and obviously some of them are a bit not as good as others, for sure.
yeah, yeah.
But I mean, it's so specific now. You can find you want to go on date farmers only, you can do that. You want to go to, you want to stick to your personal religion, if that's something really important to you, you can do that.
Right.
They're not all Match and Bumble, and those they're pretty general.
Okay.
So,
No, that sounds good. Well, first of all, Fiona, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be on People on Dating. Before I let you go, just a couple more things. Talk about your books.
oh, okay. So I have 2 books. The first one is called Fearful to Fabulous, and that basically breaks down seven things, which of course I won't be able to remember right now. 7 things, rules of, things that you
Yeah.
can do, 7 steps you can take to get yourself back on track after your divorce,
Okay.
just to uplift. So it would be things like, looking after your personal habits that have changed.
Right.
um, Finances is a big one.
Yeah.
um, I can't think of it. uh, oh, friendships, relationships. It's not
Right.
just when you get divorced, it's not just your relationship with your spouse that
Yeah.
changes. It's the relationship with everybody around you, friends, relatives, children, everybody, things
Yeah.
like that. So it'll give you 7 steps to work through for that.
Okay.
And the second one is called Too Scared to Love Again. And that's the one about it. And it's got dating at the end. It's a little bit of a bait and switch, to be honest, because it sounds like it's all about dating. It's not, but because that's what people are interested in, right? That's what
Sure.
people ask me about. But it really also addresses how you can get yourself in that place so that you're ready to date again, if that's what you wish. It also addresses the fact that if you want to stay single, that's okay.
Right.
I was voluntarily single for like 2 or 3 years actually. So I was like over it. I was done. I was fed up. I wanted to just concentrate on my business and do my own thing for a while.
Yeah.
And then that was great. And then I changed my mind, and now I'm back into dating again. So,
No, no. Well,
so
good,
you can,
good.
and I was happy. That's the thing. You have to learn to be comfortable with yourself,
Right.
because if you're comfortable with yourself, you're able to be comfortable with somebody else.
Okay. No, fair enough. And talk about your coaching.
Okay, yes. So I do. I have one-on-one coaching that I work with women or men. Actually, I would work with men too. My books just happen to be geared towards women.
Yeah.
Um, and we look at what's been going on and where you're at right now, and what your biggest challenge is after your divorce. Like, what is the thing that is keeping you up at night, type of thing, right?
Right.
And
Okay.
instead, where would you like to be?
Mm.
And then we work from there. So everybody's going to be in a different place. I mean, I've had clients who are one lady was an executive in a company, and she felt really bad about herself after a divorce, and she was offered a promotion, and she didn't want to take it because she literally thought that she was a fraud and they were going to find her out.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
suffice to say, she went on, she got the promotion, she went even further in the company, and she's doing great now, and she's very happy, and she actually talks to other women after she's been working with me, so that's great.
Okay.
I've got other people. One lady was a widow, and she was in an trying to date, but somebody was not respecting her boundaries, and she didn't know what to do. We moved her on. She just got married a few months ago, so to somebody else, not the guy that she was with before.
Right,
So
right,
it really
right.
depends. So we really go from where you're at and
Okay.
take you to that place where you want to get to, whether it be a job thing or a relationship thing, or usually the two things go together.
Yeah.
um, and I also have some video courses that if people would like to do that, it's a self directed video course with workbooks that they can work on.
All right. Sounds good. Anything else you want to promote or talk about?
No, but if anybody, I do offer a free call if anybody would like to talk to me for like 40-45 minutes, and they can find me at callfabfiona.as.me. That's CALLFABFIONA.as.me. Call Fab Fiona, and they can make a book a time, and we will chat and see where they're at and where they would like to be, and go from there.
No, it sounds good. Well, anyway, Fiona, I appreciate so much that you took time out of your busy schedule to talk to us. I really, really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for having me.
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you.